Talking about AI today. Let's go. So for a bit of context today, I just have some things I wanted to get off my chest. But in an effort to not just give you a talking head video, I thought, hey, we could just do a training session with Jags. So today we're doing back, biceps, very bro-y, but basically my split's been very much like a upper lower, or not upper lower, like a push-pull sort of split. So yesterday was push, legs and chest. Today is pull, some Romanian deadlifts and back stuff. But I've been thinking about the AI, so why don't we talk about that? Also, I'm gonna add that this is kind of a practice session. I downloaded the new camera settings on the Sony a7S III, so I have not tested doing some quick turnaround content with these new settings. So I'm also making a vlog to practice that before I actually go and do a shoot for a client. Oh, belt, 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 belt. Because intra-abdominal pressure. I should say, this is also purely my own opinion. I'm sure there's people who probably get paid money to use AI art in some of their work in some capacity. Personally, I've observed some things in the industry and with my own work that don't paint a good case for it. So those things are varied, but I have 3 ideas that I want to share after I finish not dying from this set. If anyone cares, we did one set of 6 with this, just did a set of 10, 275, probably do one more set. Yeah. Ooh. Oops. It's way too high. I'm trying to remember what we're gonna vlog about. It's hard when you're picking up barbells. Okay, so I'm gonna just say straight up one thing. In that some of my clients, who will remain nameless, have an absolute zero tolerance policy towards using AI generated content, specifically generative AI. Now, when it comes to my clients, I'm respecting who these people are because I don't want to directly call them out for their business practices. But I think it's fair to say that one of the reasons why some of my clients personally have clauses in their contract saying no generative content is that they don't want to get sued, which is fair. Any company doesn't want to be sued for accidentally stealing art. I also have friends who work at larger companies. These friends will also remain nameless, but a handful of which also collaborate with, the big company that came out with the movie with the guy in the red suit and the yellow suit with the claws. They also have a non-generative AI policy. And let's be real, when it comes to making art versus creating art to sell a product, the client doesn't want to get sued. They're trying to make their money selling their products, their services, etc. And it's not a good business practice and a good business model if some artist somewhere down the chain uses content that is generated, that steals from some platform to which the client doesn't know any better. So then they end up getting sued because some artist down the line made some decision. So I think it's important for artists as freelancers to think about our clients and what we provide to them so that they are not going to get slapped on the wrist later. Now, I'm not saying you shouldn't use generated content in your workflow for client work. I'll admit I do, and I think there's ways in which you can do it. But I believe that no client should ever receive something that is purely AI generated because you never know where it came from. And in the best interest of the client, you as a freelancer shouldn't do that to your client. For your own stuff, go ahead, by all means. All right, I'm gonna take this stuff. We're gonna do the next thing now. The next thing I've observed with AI content in general is that I don't think it's received very well for consumers. Now, I think there's a time and place for it in some situations, which we'll get to in a second, but I've seen more examples where AI art is generally looked down upon in my social circles rather than it being celebrated as this awesome thing. And let's be real, I love technology. I will buy the latest graphics card whenever it comes out. I will buy the newest camera when it comes out generally, or I will at least be frothing at the mouth for the new tech with all the new AI autofocus and all that. But the generative content is where I think a lot of people feel a disingenuous intuition, this subconscious feeling of like, this doesn't feel right. It feels artificial, as if this company or this product is being fed to me with the cheapest ingredients possible to try and incite some sort of human emotion. And I think the lowest hanging fruit emotional grab that AI art latches onto is generally looked down upon by most consumers. And when it comes to trying to sell a product for clients, you want to leave a good impression on your customers. And I am by no means an expert in business, and in fact it makes my skin crawl when I think about like my customer sales. But generally when it comes to making someone feel good, when you're genuine and authentic, whatever the that means, then you make the person more willing to trust you. And I believe you lose trust when you lean on generative content so much that it makes the consumer feel like you're just trying to get a quick buck off of me, and that's not right. I want to feel like you genuinely care about your product and your marketing behind it. So when a company puts out content that is AI generated to help sell their product, I personally believe that it loses consumer confidence and it puts a stain on the brand overall. Which is why, as freelancers, I don't think we should do that. Use generative content as a final product to our clients, because when we do that, our client could be threatened on the social media platforms. Like, you're watching a piece of social media content right now, and I don't use generative content in my final products because I think people on the internet might think it's shitty. So I don't, because then people will be like, oh, he's just the guy that uses AI again. And I'll be straight up, sometimes I use it, sometimes I use it, but you never see it. And that's the key there. And for freelancers, that's also the key. We have to curate our work so that it feels like it's our own. We're doing weighted pull-ups, by the way. I haven't done these in a long time, but I did them last week because I pulled my hamstring, and when I did that, it just felt good. I just wanted to do something a little different. Hamstring's feeling pretty good now, so now we're just gonna keep the weighted pull-ups in for a little bit and do that. So we're gonna do 25 pounds with a weighted pull-up, or on a weighted pull-up. Actually, now that I think about it, what I should do is probably set up the platform before, because I can't jump with 25. I mean, I could probably jump with 25 pounds, but when this dangles between your legs, not a good feel. So that's why one of my favorite tools in the gym is something called an Apple box. The Apple box is great because then we can stand on it and we can get up there with a 25-pound plate and not feel like we're gonna smash something we don't want to smash. So yeah, let's give this a shot. Let's grab the 25-pound plate and here. I guess I could have set this up over there, but now we dangle. Yeah. Oh, it's pulling on the microphone. Hold on. Pull that up so that we don't pull on the microphone. See, in Jags' garage, we use chains and straps. Mostly chains and belts, but all right. You do with that information what you will. To be honest, I also feel like AI art is just lazy. Seriously. Like, when it comes to making stuff, as someone who cooks, I bake bread. It doesn't feel good. Like, if I were to go to a party and bring just a loaf of like Wonder Bread or Dave's Killer Bread, I'm like, look at this cool thing I made. And we're just like, oh cool, you brought store-bought bread. When you make something with your hands and you actually share that with people, boy, people really love my focaccia, my sourdough, and all the other stuff that I like to bake. It may not be the best. I'll be honest, I'm not as good as an artist in bakery, but when they know that there's the substance there, they feel it. And I also do it because I genuinely like doing it. I think enjoying the process is also part of making art. And art kind of loses that process orientation when you just hit a button and it makes the thing. So I'm gonna be honest, I sometimes hire people to help me do the work that I do, making board game videos, Kickstarter trailers, etc. And if someone were to come to me and there's a lot of AI art in their portfolio, I'm told a couple things. Just and maybe I'm stereotyping, or I am stereotyping, but let's be real. I think this person might lean onto the tech too much, to a point in which I could say like, hey, I like this shot, but I need a macro shot in between. They might not know that language. And I think art education versus tech education, there's a very clear divide between like, oh yeah, I'll just plug in a prompt and it gives me a pretty image. But like, you have to know art language and visual communication skills to help communicate a message, to help create an art piece. And in my case, sometimes explainer videos, sometimes very technical, not super technical, like we're coding stuff, but like, hey, we need to make sure that this card flips over. And that's, you can't really direct AI prompts to do that all that much. And I've seen a couple really good looking like spec pieces using AI generated content, but it's still jittery and buggy, and I am eager to see where that goes. But a client with their small board game project, are they going to be able to use giant databases without threatening use case of some other artist or other ownership of intellectual property? So when an artist comes to me and they have a bunch of AI art in their portfolio, one, I get the vibe that they lean too much on the technical skills, and two, they don't necessarily have general knowledge of intellectual property. And when they don't know anything about like who owns Marvel or who owns Batman, then they might throw something into their work that could very blatantly be artist theft. We're gonna call it a bit of an audible. I don't like, after I watched that setback, I was like, I'm not getting as much as I want out of this, just because I've been so used to doing chest supported rows that I'm just like, I'm not getting the stimulus I want in my mid back. And those last couple reps, I was really getting my hips into it more than I like. So instead, we're gonna do one set of the chin up. It's gonna hit your biceps a little bit more. And then in addition to that, I've personally found I get a little bit more activation of my mid back rather than my lats. So the barbell row was trying to get some like that diamond shape in the middle of your back. That's what I'm trying to hit a little bit better. Next week we're at the regular gym. We'll do our close grip rows again, but okay. Deficit push-ups. As in we have a little bit of a deficit so we can get all of the range of motion on this. We're gonna try 4 sets of 15. When it comes to also hiring people who may use AI in their workflow, I don't want to assume that anyone's lazy, but if someone were to be hired by me and they send me some AI content without any sort of effort and they billed me $1,000 and it took them 15 minutes to make the thing, sure, you could argue value-based pricing. This is what you asked for. Like, I think it has value, but realistically, as product, good, service, economic, nonsense, whatever you want to call it, anything is worth what someone is willing to pay for it. Now, yes, that is true. Value-based pricing is a thing where time doesn't really matter if the client gets exactly what they want or I get exactly what I want. If I hire someone and they give me the actual outcome I was looking for, sure, you could argue that is basically a way to use generative content. But let's go back to my other previous points. If a client is looking for someone to take care of their need and they don't want to have to worry about any weird nonsense down the line, if someone I were to hire were to use generative content, they're just in it for a quick buck. They're not actually here to try and follow a process. They're not here to try and integrate into some workflow or think about the outcome for their client. They're looking for the fastest way to make money possible. And realistically, I could hire someone to make me some generative content. And if they make me some generative content that achieves the outcome I'm looking for, I pay $1,000 for 15 minutes of work from them. Sure, okay, I'm never hiring you again because you clearly cared more about you making your margin, which was pretty high, relative to providing a service to me that is fair. And I am all for paying people a fair rate, which is why I set a hard standard of like the minimum rate I am willing to pay an artist regardless is $320 a day, because that is the bare minimum that you need in LA to also put aside money to a Roth IRA and have some general living expenses and live in an apartment with roommates. So I live by that standard. So whenever I hire someone, want to consider the people who I hired. I want their interests in mind. In the same way, I want whoever I hire to also have my interests in mind. So we can collaborate and be teammates. And if someone is using purely generative AI to create content without considering what is a fair rate for the work that they are doing, because skills are worth money, then I will never hire that person again. That's 10 RPE. Do you mind? Or 0 reps left in reserve. I also think that AI is lazy because it is often the path of least resistance to get something visually appealing without any intention or thought. And I believe that AI is the worst thing you can grab as the first approach to a creative work, because it might not be the right tool for the job. It might give you more struggles trying to get your client what they need, rather than just like, okay, I'm gonna go draw this, or I'm gonna go actually shoot this, versus prompt fucking a generator for days trying to get something only to realize that it's not possible to give the client what they need. So generally speaking, when it comes to my work, I always keep anything I generate AI internal. You don't ever see it. None of my clients ever see it. It's purely there for reference. It's purely there for style generation, helping me build rough concepts and getting the mood right. And then once we figure out the mood, then we actually be like, okay, what tool do we need to use to give the client what they need? So it can be a tool, but you have to think about it without this approach of I need to do this as fast as possible to get as much money as possible. It's a how am I going to best serve my client or serve the outcome I'm looking for? And in my opinion, based on what I've seen in 2024, this may change in a year, I think that currently it's not there yet. Maybe someday. I still won't use AI even 10 years from now if the current legal system and my clients don't approve of generative content, because again, my goal is to help serve the people I'm trying to help them rather than serve my own needs, because I personally believe that when I genuinely help people, eventually, that's how you work in the modern capitalistic economy. You help people and they pay you money, and if you don't serve their needs, you're not going to get paid money. So I don't care what happens with generative content. It may be creating the next amazing movies, but if no one is going to pay for it because it's threatening their business, I'm not going to use it. So really, I just use AI for two reasons. It's brainstorming, sketching, trying to get the mood right, and then also getting myself out of creative ruts where I just can't think of any ideas and I need to pull some reference. I also do use real world reference, and let's be real, going to museums is actually pretty fucking fun. So go to museums more often because you learn stuff and you can actually provide context to the human experience rather than just letting the computer throw stuff at the wall and hoping it sticks.
So what should you do as far as AI art? Man, that's a hard question. Well, the first is, I think, keep your client's needs in mind. When it comes to your client's needs, make sure that whatever you provide to them as a service, or even your audience, if you just make social media content, or just how people perceive it in general, how do you want to be perceived? Do you want to be this person who makes homemade bread?
Or do you want to be the person that brings Wonder Bread to the party? I also think that I should get better at transitions, but now we're doing cardio because we should do our cardio. Do your cardio. So, what is my approach? What is the thing that I do that I think is the most ethical way to handle generative content? I believe an ordinary and necessary level of human intervention must be required for an artwork to be original. And sure, you could argue with copyright law and intellectual property, there has to be enough changes to the concept to warrant some level of originality. To which I'm going to double down on that and say, if you're using generative content, the level of human intervention must be significantly greater and significantly different than the original source material to consider it. And you also have to consider the database. If the database is pulling from already owned copyrighted art, I don't think you should use it. So as such, putting in a real human honest day's work will make people feel authentic around what is considered generative content. So those are all of my thoughts on AI. I hope you enjoyed this video. I'm going to do 350 calories of cardio on this bike, and I'm gonna have breakfast. So I will leave it here. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, if you thought this format was fun, gym with Jags, just sharing thoughts, let me know in the comment section down below. If you have questions, comments, concerns, whatever else, comment section is down there for that as well. And I will leave you with the final tip. As always, eat 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight. Goodbye, my friends. I'm too far. Fade to black. We're done. All right. Have a good day. Hope you enjoyed the vlog. Bye.